All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am so glad to be here with Kevin Sanchez and Joshua Pallid, who you may know from my past podcast with them called Low End Gigolos. So guys, thank you so much for coming on this podcast.
Hey, man. Thanks for having us, brother.
So nice to see you, John.
It's nice to have the band back.
Yeah. We haven't been together for like 2 months.
Yeah, it's been 2 months.
And it's like, I remember when like our biggest fan found out about our podcast breaking up 3 months after it happened and how devastated he was. And I was like, yeah, that's rough. And then that's why last week I texted you guys. I was like, maybe we should do something else.
He did basically write a short film, and we were his muse.
Yeah. Is that right? He did write
something. Yes, he did write us, like we were his muse for a short film about a band, I don't know.
Oh man, that feels great. I have to get in touch with him. Anyway, who we're talking about is Adam Tan, or Made in Potland. If you're ever on the West Coast and you need weed, I can't see how you would, because I think weed is free. I think they give weed to you as soon as you cross the border. They give you a bucket. But for whatever reason, he's still in the weed game. And
he got the Bakions hookup.
He does. He decided to hybridize bacon with weed, and make bacon weed.
Right.
That's still the American way.
Yeah.
He sent us a pillowcase full of it, of which I was eating for months.
Yeah. I know, it's true. I gave the Bakions to you because like I had like a couple of them, and then I was just like headachy high.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and thank God he never, no matter how much money he makes in the weed game, thank God he never can afford to join the Patreon, because to be honest, he got me a little too high. And it's like, how do I regulate this? I'm just nibbling on it, and like my whole day is fucked up.
Someone sold me fake edibles, I think, the other night.
Oh yeah? What was it, just a piece of Tootsie Roll? They're like, here.
No, it was like a professionally
candy.
It was a professionally packaged thing that said it was supposed to be like a Sour Patch. It was Stoner Patch. Oh. But I ate those shits. It didn't do nothing.
Let me tell you something. Best business plan ever. Go to a place full of comedians who have no guns. They're not scary or intimidating, and sell them fake edibles. I mean, he doesn't know that Josh is a murderer, but 9 times out of 10, he'll go to these places and sell it to these fucking herbs, and nothing would happen to him.
Yeah, plus everyone's smoking anyway, so they don't know, am I stoned? Is it the edible? I don't know what the fuck happened.
It was, yeah. I mean, great. Honestly, good for him.
I had a friend who used to make like glass bongs and shit, and his whole business was going to the like fish concerts and like other hippie related events like Burning Man and shit like that, and just basically living off of that circuit, like as a sort of parasite, selling his wares. And he did get robbed because people take that idea of selling edibles and they're like, hey, here's a community of a bunch of pussies, let's just rob them.
When I was younger, the kids in my neighborhood, it's like, Forest Hills is like, one stop out of Long Island. So like the Long Island kids would stop here to try to find drugs. And my friends would notoriously sell them fake blotter acid. And that type of stuff. It's fun. It's good, and then nobody gets hurt.
Yeah, man. I like reminiscing about the good times. And that's what I have brought you guys here, because I want to talk about the First World War. You guys remember that war?
That was in the Middle East?
I mean, some of it was. It was like all over Europe. And I don't know if the Middle East is in Europe, but I'm going to say, yeah. I'm going to say the Middle East is also in Europe.
I obviously was joking because I have a very, in-depth college education. So I do know a lot about World War I.
That is cool. But what I noticed is that Kevin tried to get a word in edgewise twice, and we cut him off. And that type of cutting people off is similar to what they used to do in World War I. So what did you have to say, Kevin?
I just know that it has something to do with Krauts and hot dogs. That's all.
He's right. I mean, he hit the nail on the head right there. Hot dogs do figure in hugely to this story.
Huge. I mean, the Heinz guy. The Heinz guy was fucking. Listen, where do you think he came from? You thought he was in America the whole time? You thought he saw baseball was like, hey, you know what would be good here? Finger food. No. That guy was making space food. He was working for the Germans. So he had a job in NASA. Okay, what food could we bring that could sustain us in case the world doesn't let us, we can't export food anymore.
Yeah.
And he was like, hot dogs.
Yeah, they were like, we need a food. We need to come up with a food that can sustain us if the world doesn't work anymore. And he's like, he's in a room full of scientists. And he's like, I have something. And I don't know. Like, I see what everybody's plan is, but like, can we make the food look like a dick?
Like a dick. And not only a dick, but then there was like, what kind of meat is it? He's like, all the meats. He's like, all human, dogs, cows, cats, insects.
But you said Heinz. Heinz is the ketchup company.
Hey,
shut the fuck up, Josh.
What are you talking about, dog?
I'm on Wikipedia right now. It says everything's Heinz. Its fucking facts line up perfectly.
He invented the ketchup after the hot dog. That's what you don't know, Josh. That's what you don't know.
I thought ketchup maybe was war blood.
War blood?
Yeah.
Well, it might have been. I mean, he might have been inspired because one thing for sure is World War I maybe one of the wars that like really was a turning point, because before World War I, all the wars were fought in the era of like wearing too many clothes at once. Like it was always like guys with like big furry hats and like 8 different pairs of underwear on and like like a buttons up shit, and like you have to bring a big sword out and you have a horse and the horse is wearing like a wig, and that's how all wars were fought. And then what happened was they didn't tell anybody that like the machine gun was invented. So like, so the first battles of the World War I were everybody coming out to war dressed like, like froofy.
Right.
And then they just were like getting mowed down in the next line of and then just like piles and piles of bodies.
I've seen that gun firsthand. Like I got to play with it, touch it. Mm-hmm. The Germans' first machine gun. Let me tell you something. We should be using it to this day. Like that shit is fire. Like, and from what I hear, the reason why it was so fucking popping is because, or I could be getting these facts wrong. Actually, like I got the.
I mean, it's possible.
Are you referring to the Gatling?
The Gatling, like it was. I think either. I think it might have been a Gatling, but like, I think this shit either we won because their shit would catch on fire and ours, like we invented something that didn't.
Yes, we had a water cooled one.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. And then and once their shit caught on fire, they just have to throw that shit away. Or it could be the opposite. Their shit didn't catch on fire and ours did.
Exactly. That's actually what I'm reading here in Wikipedia. It was either that the guns caught on fire or they didn't caught on fire. One of those two. Citation. It does say citation needed.
Well, World War I is also when the first tanks were invented. Correct?
Yeah.
Because I have a World War I fact that the very first tank was fixed with a machine gun. And do you know what the name of that first tank was, the prototype?
Was it something with a cat, a feline?
It was Little Willie.
No, it wasn't. Are you
so
serious?
German.
100%.
So German.
Why is that so German?
Because it's Little Willie, obviously, hot dog, it's Heinz, tiny penis.
Tiny
penis. They fucking pride themselves on.
Right. Any guy who drives a tank has a tiny penis.
Yeah, and they like, because this is the thing, in the early 1900s, and this is a good point to come to, our persona, the global persona was naive. Like those Germans driving the little Willie, they were like, yes, I have a little Willie and I'm driving in my tank. Like they were proud of that. They didn't realize.
It was a point of pride back then.
They didn't understand irony. That's another reason why. So in the First World War, everybody was, except for America, was ruled by kings. And like, we don't understand
king shit.
Yeah. But the thing about being with kings is that two things, like you are like, you think the king is connected to God somehow. And like, you know, religion was mad popular back then. So it's like,
it's so crazy.
I got to go to war. Like it's for my country. Like I have this like love of where, you know, this thing. And also
imagine that conversation. Imagine going to your mom and say, yo, I just heard today at the fucking, at the horse cleaner that, I just heard today that the king had a conversation with God last night. And he was like,
this is literally the type of shit that happened. I'm not kidding you.
Yeah.
He was like, please, we need to kill the Jews. Did you hear that, Mom?
Yeah, it wasn't until another couple hundred years till people realized that God only speaks to presidents.
Well, you know, it's funny you bring that up because like, so the, you know, in Japan from like 1890, like basically during the Meiji Restoration, which was like, and I know Japan did have a little to do in World War I, but this is just to talk about the conversation with God thing that Kevin brought up. In World War I, I mean, what do you call it? In Japan, like they have an emperor who like, it's not even he's connected to God, like he is like, God, he has God power. So when people would, in the 1920s, like, when people would like, when Japan was like going on these sort of like wars with Korea and like these battles and shit, the parents of the soldiers would be like, hey, here's a knife. The mother would be like, here's a knife. If you get caught, you should kill yourself with this. I mean, I'm not kidding you. This is legit what parents told their kids. And in fact, there were hundreds and hundreds of soldiers who kept fighting World War II up until the 60s and 70s and were fucking killing, killing civilians in the Philippines for years. And they had to, the Japanese government had to be like, yo, you got to stand down. They called the commanding officers out of like peacetime to be like, yeah, the war's over. Like, I'm sorry, you're mentally insane. But that's because of the emperor shit.
Caps.
Right. There's actually, sorry, go ahead, Kevin.
Fun fact, Japanese mothers still do that with their Japanese sons. They say if you don't pass Harvard in 4 years, please kill yourself with this knife.
You get caught cheating.
Yeah.
Kill yourself with this knife. They still do it. So they're still keeping tradition alive, is what I'm saying.
Honestly, respect, right?
Pertaining to people not getting orders, I distinctly remember that I think someone up into even the 80s, in the 1980s, they found a Japanese soldier on one of these remote islands who thought they were still at war.
Get the fuck out of here.
And I swear to you, I'll find it. Well, we can follow up with it in the future.
There's hundreds of stories like this, which is really weird. There's like, when you think about it, it's like, is it like a psychosis or something like that?
It could be a psychosis.
It's just, that's the thing. It's like when we think of
like look at our Vietnam vets, you know, like, I mean, some of these guys still, they stood it now.
Well, you know, like in life, you know, it's very difficult. I mean, I don't know. I have difficulty. Sometimes, you know, as a person, you're looking for like direction in life. And then when somebody comes along and they give you the direction, they tell you exactly what your life plan is, it makes your life more easier. It's easier for people to buy it.
Yeah.
100%.
One thing about World War I is the weird way it started. You guys ever hear about this shit?
Please tell us.
Tell us, yeah.
So there was all these like radical groups back in the day, like back in, like basically they call this, they talk about the period before World War I called the August Madness, which was like the world wanted to go to war. Like there was something in the air that like people were just fucking bugging out. And I almost think that that's similar to like the way shit is now, because you can't put your finger on it, but like, why is everybody so tuned up?
John, I'm sorry, Kevin. John, you mentioned this a year ago on
20
our
fucking
on our
times.
old podcast that we
Yeah.
we were living. It's as if there was something in the air about to pop off. Like
I've
people
always
were
felt
just
it.
bored.
I've always felt it that it's there, and like we can see it like just creep into our everyday life, especially with the pandemic, especially with like the like, oh,
Presidency.
you're racist because you said a very innocuous thing. Like, why are you getting on me, dude? Like, why is everybody like? So there was this energy, and there were all these like underground groups. Like there was
Like little militias.
little militias and little like they would get together in cafes and think how they could fuck the whole shit up.
Man,
And
that's the gayest thing I ever heard in my life.
you know what's funny is
Let's
that
go to a cafe and talk about you gotta take over the world.
oh, they do have cool accents though. You got to admit. No, I mean to be honest, like if you look at the styles from back then, like you're right, like a lot of it looks very, very gay. Like they all had like I don't know, like very fancy. They're very fancy.
Yeah,
Europe was a fancy place. What do you want? You know?
They took off their scarves and like, let's fucking duel.
I have an interesting. Did you mention Franz Ferdinand already?
I was getting up to Franz Ferdinand because the guy who killed him was a member of one of these little militias called the Black Hand. Yeah.
What? Well,
Yeah,
is that translated from something? Is that translated from like German? Like
let me see if I can find the
It was the BHM movement.
Hell yes, dude. Yeah, he was part of.
Ladies and gentlemen, Josh thought of that with not an ounce of 420 in his system. So
yeah,
very impressive.
Yeah, I don't know the name of it. It's probably like Luxklavic, you know what I mean?
Does it stem from like Germany? Does it stem from Russia?
No, this is all what the fuck? Slovakia, Bosnia Herzegovina.
That's cool.
Bosnia Herzegovina, which is like, when has anything good ever happened there?
Every time I see Bosnia in a fucking movie, like there's like somebody being murdered or like somebody's head getting chopped off.
Like before starting all the world wars, like the only thing that area was popular for was vampires.
So you want to hear a really strange coincidence about Franz Ferdinand, John?
Yes.
His license plate when he was assassinated, did you hear this?
No.
It was 111118, which if you translate it into the day is Armistice Day. It's 11/11,
dude.
2018. Yeah, by strange coincidence.
That is so fucking weird, dude. You know, here's another weird thing about Franz Ferdinand that you didn't know. So what happened was he was leaving like some type of like fancy ass unveiling. Like he got to go in his car with his with the princess, whatever, like crown prince and princess, and they were in their motor car. And like they started to like get busy in the car. Like,
wait, all three?
No, just him and his girlfriend. No, him and his.
Oh, he got to ride. He got to ride in the car.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, his driver, yes, he was being driven around. So
and he was clearly masturbating.
No, I think they were more.
No, the driver.
The driver. You know, that's a good question. Like, are royal drivers allowed to like masturbate about the indiscretions of royalty during it, or do they have to wait until they go back to like the servants' barracks?
I think.
Was he on a horse? Was this a horse-drawn carriage?
This was a real car.
An actual car.
Basically, an old-timey limo.
Yeah, I think the rule is if you're driving the horse, like a horse-type carriage, you're allowed to masturbate.
You can use the friction to rub yourself off.
Yeah, and the click and the clocking, it covers up the sounds of the fapping.
Yeah.
But in a car, I don't think you should be.
You shouldn't be jerking off while driving. That's just, if anybody tries to do that, that's ridiculous.
Well, originally cars were built so you could masturbate while driving.
However, I mean, I've never jerked off while driving, but like, have you guys ever had sex while driving?
No, I'm too scared to do that.
Well, you know who wasn't
too big for that?
You know who wasn't too scared to do that?
Franz
Ferdinand.
Wow.
Franz Ferdinand. Well, yeah, he had a driver. That's how to do it. You have somebody drive you around, and then you get.
Oh wait, I've done some stuff in the back of a cab.
Yeah.
That I would do all
Yeah,
day.
I've done that too.
I'm talking about like actually somebody driving and like sucking my penis at the same. Like that's
too crazy.
That's too nuts for me.
Yeah. What if you stop short and she bites your dick off?
That's an accident happens and
you know what though? How come there's not a movie about that?
You know what?
He's like a rogue. He's like a rogue hero. He's the man with no dick.
He lost it in
like
World
a
War
cowboy
I.
movie.
So let me ask you. He was assassinated in like Croatia or somewhere, right?
Assassinated right driving out of this little fancy get together, like 2 fingers deep into the princess when he got his head blown off.
Which country were they in?
Bosnia Herzegovina.
Yes.
Oh, he was smashing the princess and he got his head blown off?
Yeah, dude.
Oh, I didn't know this. No, my man's that wasn't an assassination. That was like a crime of passion.
Oh, you think oh, this makes sense. So you're thinking Gavrilo Princip, who was the leader of the Black Hand.
Yeah.
It's like maybe Kevin thought that sounded like a gay thing. You think it was a hate crime? You think he had a crush on the prince? And because in 1914, the roles of like it was so not accepted that it could never happen. Plus, you're in this cast.
Hold on. This is gay sex. I thought he was fucking the princess.
I think we
have. He was, Kevin.
We got all of our.
John is saying is the man who assassinated him had a love for him, which is why he killed him.
Yeah, it's possible.
Possibly.
Or the love for the person he's making love to.
Oh, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense too.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking from the Black Hand, and maybe like they did get together in a cafe. So I mean, it's like put two.
That's true.
Together.
I mean, I'm pretty sure they all have scarves, so who knows?
Yes.
But what I'm saying is, he was definitely. I think the person it got misconstrued. He didn't want to admit he was smashing the princess, as well, and he was feeling some type of way. That's just my conspiracy.
Evan, I mean, listen. I hate to like bring like a perspective of alternative history, but it's possible that Gavrilo Princip had feelings for the crown prince and had an affair with the princess as well.
100%.
Wow.
Yeah.
But that's my conspiracy brain. But go ahead, continue, my man.
No, yeah. So
maybe it wasn't the Black Hand. Maybe it was the Bi Hand.
The Bi Hand. So anyways, that guy got. He got. And then everybody in Europe felt a way about it.
So how popular was this motherfucker Ferdinand? And motherfuckers, was he like a soccer player or some shit? Like how come?
He was the crown prince.
He had a dope hat.
I mean, usually like the prince isn't liked. He's just this guy sitting on his ass, fingering princesses and shit in back of cars. So
hey, listen, you got a point there.
If you translate that to modern day, like what is a non-government or military person that if they were assassinated?
Prince Harry.
I don't think
nobody gives a shit about people like that.
That's what I'm saying. And I don't think they gave a shit about motherfuckers back then.
No, here's the difference is that, okay, so here's a thing about World War I that's we don't understand because when this shit happened, it was like dominoes and everybody had such a hard on to go to war. Like everybody was like, I'm gonna die for this because two things. They were, like I mentioned, that thing about being like subjects of a king. Like they had been 70 years of peace and the war that like actually happened wasn't even that big in Europe. And they thought like war was going to be like a 2-week thing where like they're going to go out on their horses and like do this gallant thing. And the loyalty factor, like look at our culture. Like we grow up on like hip hop and like punk music. It's all like defiant of the state. It's defiant of rules. It's defiant. Like we wake up and we grow up in a time where it's like the first thing we learn when we're like 11 or 12 and start to rebel is like, fuck the government, fuck everybody in charge, fuck my parents. Back 100 years ago, that was not like the way people were. They actually had an innocent pride in their institutions and a belief that those institutions were going to take care of them. And the way that the institutions fucked over the people in World War I made a society that we've never had that shit again.
I know a person today that if Josh, to answer you asked the question, who's somebody today that if we killed, I know what would happen. Okay, you ready for this scenario?
Okay,
you ready for this? If somebody kills Dennis Rodman, Kim Jong-un is going to war. Okay, that's all.
I thought you were gonna say, like, who's a person that's actually loved now? I think that like nobody's actually loved in society.
Kanye West.
No. He's not that. Not loved. He's polarizing, but he's not loved.
Yeah.
Who's loved?
Tom Hanks?
Nah, people think he's a pedophile now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Will Smith.
Okay.
Will Smith is a guy that if he goes to another country, like Germany, let's say Russia.
Yeah.
And they assassinate Big Willie?
While he's fingering his wife?
Not even. While he's fingering some other chick, because we still want him to fuck some other bitch in public.
Yeah,
for what Jada Pinkett. We almost went to war with Jada Pinkett Smith. You understand what I'm saying? That's how much we love Big Willie.
I understand. Yeah.
So Will Smith is that guy.
I think that is like probably one of the. It's so funny because he is in a way like royalty, and he does have like a mystique around him that's like we're gonna believe the fantasy of Will Smith still for some reason. Isn't he Scientologist?
Well, he's a prince.
And he's a prince. He's the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Holy shit! Holy
guys,
shit!
We're back. We are motherfucking back.
John, did you know that tanks had genders in World War I?
Oh, how nice. Or not
Yes.
nice. I don't know.
Yes. So tanks that were fitted with machine guns were females, and tanks that were fitted with
You mean trans?
Vaginas were male.
with big guns were male.
Oh, right. The little Willie. So the little Willie is like the clitoris of the tank.
Oh,
Right.
Okay.
So, yeah, I don't know, man. Like the tanks of World War I, they look to me, I don't know, like the idea wasn't like completely thought out. Like the tanks of World War II with the little head on top of it that like goes like that. That's really cool. But like if you ever look at like it looks like children's blocks. The old tanks. They're not. Not cool.
They don't. But could you imagine? You're this person who's lived in a world that tanks didn't exist yet. And you're in your fucking trench. And you're already dealing with like bullets flying by you, and all of a sudden something creeps up on you that's an armored, moving mechanical device. It's like if on the war front now, a UFO showed up.
Totally.
These World War I tanks look like a tricked out John Deere lawnmower and shit.
Inside you look like a damn lawnmower. You're right. It just had the plow thing in the front.
Yeah. This shit is disgusting.
The thing about it is like trench warfare is like such a. Do you guys think about how stupid trench warfare was? Like this is what I mean. Like the people put up with such dumb shit. Like we're gonna make a line that goes 400 miles, like a 400-mile line. Like the two countries are just gonna dig a line that goes all the way down the map, and we're gonna stay on our sides, and we're gonna run across this bomb-ridden field and try to get you, and then we're gonna retreat, and then you're gonna try to get us, and nothing happens for like a year. And like they would lose like 20,000 people a day doing that shit.
Well, if you remember, I have a theory on that's why modern British men are so polite.
Yes, and actually, this would be a good time to completely retell that here.
So, if you think about, British English men, they don't, the automatic picture that comes in your head is have a nice day, good day, sir.
There's two. There's always this British guy who's very, he doesn't even want to move his mouth because
that's that guy.
There's that, and then there's over here, and he's like very Cockney sort of. None of his syllables work right,
Well, there's only two types. There's only those two.
Two types. You're either born one or the other. It's called Downton Abbey.
And I think I would say it weighs heavier towards the polite, non-aggressive.
That's where everyone's trying to get to.
And I think what happened with trench warfare is the British soldiers who were in these trenches, the ones who were the most polite, who told the other ones to go ahead in front of them and yes, go ahead, you go first. Those are the ones who survived.
It was just a lot. You know, it's like I remember that so vividly from watching the movie 1917.
Did they show anything like that? Was there any
movie? The whole movie, guys, in case you haven't seen it, is a line of British guys going, "You first, sir. No, you first." And then it's a one-shot movie of just going down the line as they all let the other guy go first.
Yes, after you, sir.
Wow, guys, that's so disrespectful to the soldiers of World War I. Holy shit.
I would call World War I the war of condiments, wouldn't it be? Because you guys talk about Heinz and hot dogs and mustard.
Mustard gas.
Yes. What was mustard gas, John?
So mustard gas was when the Germans. So here's the thing. Here's what's very confusing about this war. So it's like Franz Ferdinand, who was the Crown Prince of Austria, gets got, right? And then everybody in Europe feels a way about it. So basically, also all like the kings and queens of England, of all of Europe at this time are like to be politically correct, they're all inbred retards at this moment in history. So like literally all of the kings are related by like cousin, right? So all this kind of shit happens, and all of a sudden Germany, classic Germany, decides like this is their time. We're gonna fucking take over, because they live in like Germany's like right in the middle of Europe, so they have always like, I guess, felt like
they're the heart.
So the Germans weren't even German at that time. They were Prussian. They were Prussia. You know what like that is?
No.
Yes.
Like there's Russian, but then there's Prussian. They were not Russian. It's like the Germans called them
pussy Russians.
Pussy Russians, right? Exactly. So they had like a little pointy hat. Do you remember that thing?
Yes. That shit's hilarious.
That's just hilarious. What do they think? They're rhinoceroses?
Was that in case like someone would step into your trench, they would step onto your hat?
They would hit you with the head? No. So Kevin was talking about sword battles. So this is a thing that like rich people would do back then. This is a real thing. So rich people would, this is another example of people with too much money on their hands and time on their hands. These people were like the rich. They fucking, their lives were set because like their dad was like a duke or some royalty. Like they don't really have to work. They can just do whatever. So what was very popular at the time was being into fencing. They would go to open mic fencings. You know what was very cool? If you're a cool guy, your face would be all scarred up from all the scars that you had from fencing. And it was almost like a cool thing. And the point on top of the German's hat was actually like, it was like a catch when they were sword fighting, so that like if you're sword fighting somebody, you could like kind of like maneuver, like getting them
stuck.
Yeah.
So you could jab. Wow.
So these guys, big idea for like fencing while they were fencing was to, hey, I'm not gonna move out the way. I'm gonna headbutt a sword.
Well, they were locking it up
so it can get stuck on my hat.
Yeah. See, Kevin, I know you seem like this is so, you're like, oh, these people are so fucking stupid.
No.
But I'm saying like
courageous was my thought. But go ahead, continue.
No, because like you're the only one here who's ex-military, and something inside of you must like feel comfort of like, wow, look at all those rules that I could follow. Somebody could tell me all the rules to follow, and then I would know what to do.
Yeah, it is kind of comforting, actually. It's like, all right, these guys knows what we got to do.
Yeah.
Did they give you any sword practice in the military, Kevin?
That's a Marine thing.
Like, they do. They teach you how to use swords in the Marines.
Not anymore. Like there's fencing. There's like a fencing league or some shit like that in the Marines.
Well, they still have the cavalry, don't they? In the military, they still have horse.
Bro, it's more for song and dance, you know. It's for like when a fucking.
So there's no more fighting with horses at all.
There's no way. I can't even see that.
Well,
no,
I heard
actually that's not true.
Yeah, in Iraq. Didn't that happen in Afghanistan?
It happened, but that was like.
But it happened.
It happens, but like that's rare, dog. That's like.
John, did you hear about this, John?
What, horse fighting?
There was a horse battle in Afghanistan, I think, during the last Gulf War.
That's kind of cool. Actually, no, I did hear. You know what's weird is that like there have been places where trench style fighting happened after World War I. Like basically, the thing about the trenches was that it was a stupid plan. There was a guy.
Why do you think it was a stupid plan?
Because you ever hear the term war of attrition?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like the whole point of this is just to like take a barrel of people and a barrel of people on the other side and just pour the people out until you're done with, oh, you're done, you're out, like you're out of people to kill.
Well, we
so
want.
like the battles like the Somme and like some of these like these battlefronts in World War I were like there was no like goal. Like if you look at an aerial thing of
the goal was how strong is your will to continue fighting, basically.
It was basically the king's decree. Like I'm gonna just pour my subjects into this plan, and there wasn't like, oh well, what if the soldiers have like no? What if that's not even a good position that we're fighting over? If you look at the bird's eye view of the Somme, which is like they lost an insane amount of people. They fought this thing for like 8 months straight. Like 20,000 people a day died in it.
Oh
and it's like, if you look at it, it's just like a square.
20,000 a day?
Yeah. That like, you can't even understand like what side is which. It's just like a hole. It's like a hole for bodies, like a big mass grave. Like there's no sense to it. And the thing is that like, they were the military, like they were doing all, like there was no value of human life. Like you talked about mustard gas, like that's just like the most poison. That's like fucking Xylon. That's Holocaust gas that they were just like opening up cans of it. Like they would open up cans of it, take a brush, put a little bit on their toast, and then let the fumes go, and it would actually kill the grass.
Yes, you told us that. It
would like kill everything
it deprives everything of it's heavy, right? I remember you said it like causes the air to.
Yeah.
Oh wow, man. What else was methodology for killing people in World War I?
Well, I mean,
what was the most of killers? Was it the mustard gas? Was it the machine guns? What was killing the most people?
It had to be.
It wasn't like bombs and stuff, was it?
No, I think bombs.
Yeah. Actually, I have an interesting fact that you would be able to. You could hear explosions in France. Oh, explosions in France you could hear in London during World War I. So you could. That's how big these bombs that were going off. You could hear them all the way in London from France.
Yeah, apparently, like they would have the lines of like where the trenches were, and behind the lines there would just be guns for days, like these big cannons, and all day long they would just shoot the cannons into like the other side,
right,
and just blow everything, just destroy everything. Like, so that's where shell shock comes from, where people were just like, they would completely lose connection with reality because like
concussions and stuff.
Their brain is actually getting like a slow concussion by being rattled like for like months.
Fuck yeah.
So at what point do they turn around and point the finger at the Jews?
Well, you know, the thing is that actually this is a good point, because Germany basically was trying to fight everybody. Like they were fighting on the east and they were fighting on the Western Front. Of course, people have heard of the Western Front, and they're fighting on the east. And they were actually, the German army of World War I was better than the German army of World War II. They were like a much more oiled machine. I think that's probably because we were talking about that, you know, the passion for like their king and shit like that.
Right.
But
they were outmanned.
They did not tell their country that they were losing the war.
Right.
They just were like, they were just propaganda. They were like, yo, we're doing great. You know that phrase, all quiet on the Western Front? It's a book and it's a movie, a war movie. It was very popular in like the 30s. But that was the news that would come back like, oh, how's the war going? You're back at home. And in Germany.
In Germany.
Yeah. All quiet on the Western Front.
What's crazy is that when I was a kid, I just always felt like they made it seem like Germany was winning when I was a kid, and then we came in at the end and squashed that real quick.
In World War I or World War II?
I can't remember, but like the way they made it seem like Germany was ahead. Actually,
no, you're right. Germany did fuck shit up. Like they came in and just crushed everybody, like Germans do.
I mean, listen.
The president of the United States during World War I was Woodrow Wilson. And Woodrow Wilson...
Did he die in office?
Say that again?
Didn't he die in office? Didn't someone die in office during World War I or II?
I don't know. That's not the extent of my Google search history.
Wait a minute. I don't know either.
But I can tell you
that Woodrow Wilson was named that because...
Why?
I don't know. I thought you guys were really going to...
Because of his Woody?
Yeah.
Woodrow. I didn't realize.
But Woodrow Wilson ran for a second term during the midst of World War I, and he ran, his platform was, I kept us out of war. And he ended up winning a second term, and within a couple of weeks of winning his second term, the U.S. entered World War I. So don't trust politicians.
You're right. Don't trust politicians. That dickhead. No, yeah, Germany fucking really was super mean. But anyway, to how do they get to hate the Jews? Here's why. So all quiet on the Western Front, they're telling that to people. And then all of a sudden, Germany loses the war. Bad. And not only that, but they get the Treaty of Versailles, which I don't know what the fuck that was, but I know it was bad for the Germans.
I know what it was. It basically told them that they were not allowed to amass an army. They weren't allowed to build advanced weaponry. It put sanctions that kind of like
you're too good, guys. You're too good. All right.
That's what it was. They did that. They did that, like the same stuff we did to Japan after we dropped the nukes on them. They basically humiliated them. They told them you can't build a military, an army, advanced technology, and they also put heavy sanctions.
At the hearings of the Treaty of Versailles, I believe Woodrow Wilson himself was like, yes, Mr. Hines, yes, please. And not only that, guys, you guys have little dicks.
That's what he did. And what else was it that they put these sanctions, they basically, they fucked them all over, but then they were like, psst, it was the Jews who made us do this. We like you guys.
You're absolutely right. That's a fact. So
wait, the Germans was like, the Jews?
They basically said, this whole Treaty of Versailles bullshit, that's a conspiracy. That the Jews, they were actors in our midst that sabotaged the whole thing. We would have won had it not been for. Now, there's also like, you don't have to like go too far, but like since the 1200s, that region has hated Jews out of Christianity. And like,
right.
That's nothing new.
Pogroms.
This was just another way of like, I mean, essentially what's happening in our country now, which is like, hey, there's this old seated hatred that that's been there the whole time, that in the culture, and we're going to use this new like technocratic, nobody can get jobs anymore to like, let's just do the old switcheroo on you. And that's what's happening, what happened there as well. And it didn't turn out so well.
I think, the thing with that caused animosity for the Jews and like the contempt, and then also the pointing the fingers, was that a lot of the Jews there were prominent business people who had international ties at the time, and they were doing business with countries that were fighting with Germany. So they saw it as conspiring.
So you're saying that like there's two sides to every story?
No, it's always me and the Jews' fault.
Right. No, I mean, it is our fault. By the way, just to let you guys know, Joshua, Kevin, and I are all Jewish.
All Jewish. I've converted since quarantine.
Yeah. And I got my bar mitzvah actually like a year ago.
Yeah.
So we in
And I
here.
was born this way.
Yes. Wow. Yeah.
I mean, okay.
Taking a little pause after.
I mean, that was
being we all felt like we were.
Here's a fun fact for Kevin. Women's skin turned yellow during World War I. Did you know that?
no.
World War I saw many women joining the workforces, and those who worked with TNT saw their skin turn yellow as a result, as they suffered from toxic jaundice.
Why is that a fun fact for me?
I just thought you might appreciate women turning yellow.
I don't know where you're headed out with this one, buddy.
Yeah, Josh, leave that shit on the Low End Gigolos. My man's trying to rebrand right now.
I'm trying to, you know.
How young? How about this? How young was the youngest authenticated combatant?
Oh, I'm gonna say like fucking
16, 15?
13, 14-year-olds running around there.
Kevin, what's your guess?
I'm gonna say 15.
The youngest authenticated combatant to serve in World War I was 12 years old. Many young men faked their age in order to sign up early. The youngest to do so was Sidney Lewis, who was only 12 years old at the time.
This motherfucker still believe in Santa Claus or whatever the fuck they do in Germany.
Yeah, that is kind of cute. That is kind of cute. Be like, Mom, I'm going. Like his balls haven't dropped yet, so he's like, Mom, I'm going to fight the Krauts.
Yeah.
Like, Mom, I'm going to fight the Krauts. I'm going to leave. I do not want to sell bread at the bread shop.
Well, back then, according to what you said, John, these people, they loved the king like kids love Santa Claus.
Well, that's the thing. It's like that feeling was eroded. That feeling got like slowly ground down. And what's weird is like, it kind of hasn't come back. Like, two things, like we don't, like our government that we live in, like because of like what people want to like say about America, but like I've always felt that America has like a very like rebellious spirit, and it's almost encouraged, especially if you're like a creative person. It's like your adolescence is like, hey, here's this period where we're gonna say it's okay for you to say fuck everything, and then you're probably gonna like develop a persona out of that and find like your path in life.
Right.
But like, we also don't have a thing where our culture is like naive in that way. Like, imagine you really did, like the thing about the Japanese guy who really does believe the emperor is like something with God, and like the rest of society is like watching you to be like, yeah, you believe that, right? Because we'll fucking tell people if you don't. I mean, that's
it still exists in North Korea.
Yeah, I mean, it still exists in different ways. Like, I would say, like, what we experience with this new style, like, keep your mouth shut shit, is like authoritarianism slowly creeping its way back into, like, society. Like, there are no kings. There are no, like controllers like that. But in a way, like, we are.
And the way they are, it's in who you choose to believe in politics. Like if you go in New York City, if you even dare say you're a Republican, like you better have a lot of money. You're gonna and friends that also ride with you, because if not, fuck, I'm burping a lot as I'm saying this point.
So good, dude.
Because you'll be demonized. But if I go to the fucking South and I say, yeah, I'm a liberal, I'm a Democrat, I'm disgusting to those people. It's like,
well, I think that is where America's strong point comes in. Is because regardless of, whoever our country elects as a leader, a percentage of the country will absolutely hate that person and openly discuss how terrible they are as a leader, which, I think maybe for the first time I'm realizing is actually our strong point. I was thinking, what a bad thing that we're always so divisive. Maybe it's a good thing that our population doesn't come to a consensus with a leader, because when you have a consensus of belief in a leader, that's when terrible shit happens.
Yes, you're absolutely right. In fact, they would say of World War I that like the fronts and like the war style didn't work in places where they didn't have that, like in Italy, they didn't have the same success with like trench warfare, because the people of Italy have like a natural resistance to that.
Right.
It did get wore down. I mean, they did get into like a fascist government later, but like at that time, they were able to resist that.
Right. And also because anytime they would dig a trench in Italy, they would throw another body in there and then bury it because.
Yeah, hell yes, dude. Actually, here's the thing that
he didn't pay his fucking vig, so he gotta fucking go.
Here's something that is interesting, and it is a parallel to what we experience now with like social shame. So in like the early part of the war in England, there was this thing, and I know these names of these groups are funny, but there was this thing called the Order of the White Lotus. No, wait, I'm saying it wrong. The Order of the White Lotus is like some anime shit, I think. But
they were the Jedis. That's what they were.
No. Hold on a second. Yes. What the hell was it? Okay. Yes, it was called the Order of the White Feather. That's what the name of it was. Okay, so here's what it was. So in World War I, before, like during the recruitment era, like the first year of the war, 14-15, the whole society was like, me and all my boys are going to war. For sure, we're going to be on the front of the front lines. We can't wait. We can't wait to be in that. And if you didn't, the Order of the White Feather were like hot girls, hot women in society who would find out about a guy who was possibly not going to war, or if it was perceived that he wasn't going. Okay. And in public, give him a white feather or like pin a white feather onto him, which was like the ultimate like public shaming, like you're gay, dude. Like
that's awesome.
And this would actually fuck people's standings up. So even if they were like thinking of not going, they would definitely. So like, and honestly, all the people who went to war, like in the first years of the war, they all died. Like it was like, that was like the turning up the volume of like, you're going out there and people didn't even have the fucking right armor. Like they didn't know what they were up against when they were going to get mowed down by machine guns.
So you're saying mostly like what caused all these deaths, it was women's fault?
I mean, it says here in Wikipedia that the Order of the White Feather is by the prominent I mean, I'm not saying that completely, but I'm just.
I mean, listen, there's nothing.
This podcast is called reading verbatim from Wikipedia. I'm just.
I'm speaking personally. Like, if I knew there were women out there who were going to emasculate me for not going to do something, I probably would go do it.
Yeah.
I mean,
not me,
man.
You go.
Talk about like just whack off, bro. Wait till this shit is over. Let these motherfuckers die. Let these guys die. There's got to be one guy's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna wear the white feather, right? But when all these guys die, who are you gonna go fuck? The guy with the white feather.
I would have played retarded back then because people.
Oh, that would be because first of all you could get away with it.
Yeah, because people don't know. People didn't know about skills like that. Play retarded until World War I's over, and then be like, I'm cool, cheerio.
After you, sir.
Yo, that's a dope. I mean, have we done that over here? I'm sure we've done some form of the white feather in America.
Oh, I don't know.
I feel like in a way, like Me Too shit getting carried away. Like not like legitimate people who fucking have done bad things, but I'm talking about like Aziz Ansari or even just shit where it's like people, what happened to Capizoli? What happened to Christian Capizoli was fucked up. Basically, he got taken down by rumors and the whole entire improv community turned against this guy who wrote a book and fucking opened a school on his own money and did all this shit. Why? Because basically they were jealous, but like, I don't know it's like, you can't say that there's always like a cut and dry equality. It's like that old saying, like a few skulls have to get cracked to make an omelet.
Right.
That's like kind of the way any sort of when you want to like just blanket get people like Jews are bad. Like that's so
Right.
we're gonna this German thing. It's just like you're okay.
Did anything good come out of World War I?
Yes.
I know one thing, but I want to know your perspective.
I wonder if it's the same thing.
Well, you want me to tell you? Because it's from my top 10
I don't know if
facts.
Listen,
World War I
you go.
saw the biggest advancement in plastic surgery because people were so terribly maimed and wounded during the war, especially facially, because they had these very like arcane bombs that blow up and their faces would get all fucked up, and and also from the bayonets. So after World War I or during World War I, they came up with different, ideas and ways to reconstruct facial tissue to make you look less of a horrible monster.
If you guys never watched Boardwalk Empire,
no, I haven't.
A prominent character has this thing. He wears like a half face.
Yes.
It's almost a sculpture that he wears on the side of his face.
Yes.
And it's played with like very good. That's that might be the second good thing that has come out of World War I.
There's some Hollywood celebrities that would hate you guys for saying this. So.
Well, but now they use this to make people look like monsters, which is weird. It started off keeping you from looking like a monster till eventually it turns you into looking like a monster. I mean, shout out to women with fake lips.
Unequivocally, the best thing that came out of World War I was the term the gigolo.
Because there was...
This is how it happened. And this was in Germany. So,
of course,
what happened was, after a while, there were not a lot of guys left.
Just white feather niggas. Just...
Right.
And that's where pimps come from, because pimps have all the feathers.
Here's what happened. So basically, Germany had a very there were less guys around, that they've been all shoveled into the trenches, and the high the upper class women. I mean, upper class women who are royalty. They're cheating on their husbands anyway. So basically, gigolos, high-end male prostitutes, became a thing. And even the song "Just a Gigolo," that was covered by the guy from Van Halen,
David Lee Roth.
Yeah, the original song comes from that era, at 1918.
I'm just a gigolo, and everywhere I go, people like to put feathers on me. Stick it in your pants.
Stepping over Jews.
Controlling all the news. They never had a chance.
I mean, so first of all, I just realized how not that. Whoa.
Sorry.
Not that long ago this is.
Yeah.
I'm thinking for some reason, in my I know it was what
100 years ago. Literally 100 years ago.
That's a grandparent ago.
A grandparent and a half, yes.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah, I guess you're right. Damn, son.
So how long before World War III steps off, and will it be more like World War I or World War II?
No, I think it'll be something new. I don't think that the people... See, one of the things that they always say about World War I is that, it takes a lot of belief in your institutions to fight that hard and that long. As much as people are passionate about, whether they're for Trump, they're against Trump or whatever, they're not passionate about that. They're passionate in opposition to. They're passionate to hate Trump. They're passionate to hate the Democrats. They're passionate to that's where the energy is. It's not I love my country so much that I'm gonna cry about it. You know what I mean? Nobody cares about that shit. So, I almost think that it'll be drone strike shit. It's not gonna be the other thing is you have to have the guts to literally stick a bayonet into the neck skin of a guy.
Right.
That's the kind of war I'm ready to fight, World War I style. Hand to hand, my rifle didn't fucking start, so I'm going to chop you guys up on a fucking mud field. That's who the fuck is going to do that? I mean, you've been in the Army. Do you think that, like, that's not how they're going to fight anyway?
No, I mean, well, there is close quarter combat still happening. Like when you when you're taking over a building or a room, or like there's shit happening where you gotta do stuff like that.
Do they tell you? Do they tell you like what's the best way to murder somebody, Kevin?
Shoot first all the time.
Shoot first. But let's say you're out of bullets. Now what?
There's no such thing. There's almost no such thing as running out of bullets.
Okay.
That's
they don't teach you like little knife fighting?
Yes, they do. Actually, so what you guys don't know is like we just took off the bayonets.
Really?
Yeah, that we had bayonets, I think until college dropout? I want to say 06. Yeah, to like college dropout.
The what?
Until college dropout.
Yes. I think the Marines still have bayonets. We're allowed to carry knives, though. But we just can't have it in the front of our weapon anymore.
Yeah.
And I think technically you can still attach it. But I'm not sure how that works anymore. Honestly, I don't remember. But what you said, do they tell you?
Yeah, do they teach you like murder weapons?
Yes, like okay, so sometimes like when you're cleaning a room, you gotta if you make the mistake and don't move quick enough, somebody can grab your gun, your rifle. And of course you're supposed to shoot until the mag is done. And hopefully he's dead. But if for some reason this guy's super strong and like he's wearing like an oven mitt and his hand isn't burning.
They did tell you that. That is from basic training.
Yeah, and oven mitts are standard issue in some
but if he's wearing a glove, that like
you might be fighting a. You never know when you're fighting a chef.
But if he's wearing a heat resistant glove, and he's able to like
that's why chef hats are that big.
And he's able to like fuck with the muzzle and like then
I don't know why you're bringing up Muslims, but that's not cool.
the muzzle, not the muzzies. Then yeah, you're gonna fucking take your gun, take your rifle, and just like try to pierce him in his chest, or like beat the shit out of him with your rifle while everybody else clears the room.
Now, what if
I thought Kevin, you told me that you were being taught actually they've lessened the lethality of what you're allowed.
You know what's great is that like Kevin's telling us this, but I imagine Kevin's commanding officer explaining it to Kevin verbatim. Like, yo, he might be having an oven mitt, so then you gotta just smash it into his chest, and he's like,
yeah, it's kind of
like he's like Kevin was like top of his class, like the best of the best, like.
You know what I picture, John, is that there's actually a training manual with a guy with an oven mitt holding the tip of a bayonet.
Yo, have you ever touched
it's like the diagram is like a mop stuck in the bottom of a bucket with another bucket with a face drawn on it, and then like another stick taped to it with an oven mitt, and all the fighting happens to that guy.
I saw a guy. I think I saw a dude one time. We were at in the firing range. We were at the firing range, and we're shooting machine guns that day. And I've seen a machine gun catch on fire, right? And I saw an idiot. I didn't see it.
That shit ended the war for the Germans.
But it probably did. But I saw one guy, because you're supposed to change the fucking I forgot what it's called, yo. But you're supposed to change
the barrel.
The barrel, thank you. You're supposed to change the barrel every, I think, 200 rounds, right? Or 150 rounds, right? And this idiot grabbed the actual barrel.
Wow. Without
a fucking, well, we had gloves. We were supposed to. Yo, bro, I saw his fucking hand. He was out for months.
Because it's red hot, right? It's glowing.
Dog, it's glowing.
It's like lava.
It's legit glowing. Legit glowing.
Yo, did he try to like be tough? Was it like and he's like, I'm good.
No, not even.
His hand is on fire.
You did a Stallone?
There are some guys who like I look at like we call them we just call them high speed guys. What? And these guys to me like I feel like they can touch a burning barrel and just like toss it.
Right.
Man,
well, like they have those what are those, the kung fu guys? They do stuff like that, don't
they?
they?
They touch hot rocks.
They like hot shit with their fucking
I
forearm.
was watching this one video, probably one of my favorite videos online, of these kung fu guys, and they're literally they have a chain with a cinder block on it, and they're like swinging the cinder block like into their dick.
Their balls, yeah.
Yeah, and they're like feeling nothing, and it's like, why? Why do you want to be good at kung fu that bad?
I went on a date last night with a polygamist, and she actually told me we were going over like different weird people that she's dated and like went on dates, and she said she met a guy who his thing was he was into being kicked in the balls, like really hard, and that was his whole. And she was like, "Is that before sex, after sex?" It was the entire thing. That's
the whole
all
entire sexual act was just getting kicked in the balls.
Yeah, he just wanted her.
He had never even heard of sex.
Yeah, no.
He thought that was getting kicked in the balls.
Yeah, but there's methods to do that, to get kicked in the testicles without getting too much pain.
Imagine being that dude and like your boys like hit you in the balls and you're like, oh my God.
That is wild. That's one of the things. It's like, imagine you had some type of predilection that you couldn't deny, and it was like really fucked up.
Yeah, but those things I can understand if you like were in World War I and then you had some sort of strange fetish to get gassed or some shit. Like,
you could only have sex once.
I need a chick to lock me in a closet and fart.
Well, that's what. Yeah, you just want to be like Xylon Bead.
Yeah. But like, other than like a traumatic event which comes around once every 100 years, like, what are these things that cause people to have such weird fetish?
That's for another day.
I mean, like the people of World War I were especially more brutal than we are now. Like, yeah, I feel like that's just a fact, and I also think that like, growing up at like the end of the 1900s into the beginning of the 20th, like 2000s, is like a really unique period of not a lot of shit happening like where we are. Right. That we've almost been conditioned to this ultra hyper safety and comfort. But like back in these days, like every fucking parent beat the shit out of their kids.
Right.
Every husband abused their spouse.
Right.
Like the alcoholism was like off the charts. You know what I mean? For a good portion of that, like drugs were not regulated. So like you'd just go to like some local pharmacist and you'd probably get heroin for your cough. You know what I mean?
Right.
So local pharmacy was sold over the counter.
Yeah. I mean, exactly. So after World War I, here's another thing that like we get from that time. And you're talking about like these weird type of like byproducts of society. After World War I, that's when organized crime becomes a thing. Like, and that's what Boardwalk Empire is about. I
thought organized crime has been around for a long time.
The way it became like
as we know it now,
like, with like a lot of killings and like tough, because the guys, Al Capone, all these guys came back from World War I and they were like killers.
Yeah, they're real killers. Taking a life. Let me ask you a question. What was the life expectancy pre-World War I?
That's a good question. I'm going to say, I'm not going to look it up. I'm going to say 50.
32.
32 is too young.
I'm going to say 50, 55. A lot of guys died.
Died, right? Like a lot of people died. Not women, but men, right? And I got to say that maybe a lot of guys, and then what's the ages, the standard age for people who went to war?
I mean, especially with that war, I mean, it's just like, you're gonna die. I mean, okay, U.S., check this out. U.S. was in World War I for 8 months. We lost 100,000 guys. We were in Vietnam for 11 years. We lost 50,000 guys.
Wow.
Whoa. That's a fucking number. Jesus, 100,000 guys in 8 months.
Yeah,
That's losing a war in most cases.
for sure.
Yeah. How many millions of Americans were we back? What was our population back then? 100 million?
200.
No fucking idea, yeah. But okay, so check it out. 1915, 1916, 1917, life expectancy for men and women. 52 for guys, 56 for women.
So
1916, 49 for guys.
I think the respect of life, the reason why I asked that question, I think your respect for life is not high. So your brutality to me is higher when your respect for life isn't like we're gonna die. We're gonna die in 10 years. So like
yeah,
I'm gonna.
It's a lack of respect. It's an acceptance of the inevitability of your finality. You know, nowadays people are like, well, I could live forever as long as my health insurance pays to fucking put a new fucking gallbladder inside of me. You know, but back then they were like, no matter what, I'm done for. So I might as well go out with glory, do something worth dying for.
Also, like people like were more active to start their lives and start a family, and like they all had to work harder. Like the idea of in 1915 there was like fucking no weekends or time off. Like I don't even think the labor movement had gotten itself embedded into like you're working, like you worked for a guy and like you fucking probably worked 12 hours a day. There was no computers, all like real work, you know?
Right.
If you were a pencil pusher, like it probably still was like fucking a dingy, like fucking, what is it? Like Charles Dickens office is like smoky and musty and it's all papers. You stay there for 12 hours a day.
So
sounds romantic.
I personally have never read Mein Kampf. So
I come?
I can't pronounce the fuck Mein Kampf.
Hitler's book.
Hitler's book.
Kevin's never read his come.
I never read his come. But I'm assuming in this book it has to be. I want to know why they like Hitler, Germany, why they wanted to take over. Like, what was their plan? Like,
they were upset because when they lost World War I, the treaty that they imposed on them basically cucked them. It made them, and they were this very super highly intelligent, well-organized, advanced society, and they believed that they were more advanced than everybody else. And because of all of these restrictions around them, they were made to be like, they were like a smart person made to be like the idiot asshole. And that grew contempt.
Well, sure, that's World War II, though. I understand.
No, but Kevin, Hitler, Himmler, and a lot of the people who were major figures in World War II in Germany all were soldiers in World War I. They all.
Hey, I got an important call. I have to pick it up. I got to mute myself.
Cool.
Bye, Kevin.
Talk to you later, Kevin. It was pretty good having him, though. I do like that we can still see him, though.
It's an important call, you know.
I wish that.
It's probably the adoption agency. They want to return him again.
He's like, no, please, man. I'm really happy here.
You know, I think you, Kevin, and I have explained World War I better, to me at least, than anyone else ever has.
I am so glad. You know, I just feel like I'll never eat a hot dog and like feel the same way again. You know, like I'll know that this is like,
right,
you know, like
yeah,
a German guy's dick or something.
Yeah, but now Germans don't have any dicks, so the world is a safer place.
Yeah, that's true.
So what's next? World War II, or are we going to go further back in time?
No, I don't know. I'll figure it out. I mean, just for everybody who's watching this was we're going to do a podcast. It's going to be something like this, but we were just trying it out. So
yeah. Sorry guys, that was I can't even say it on the air. So
it was the adoption agency, right? You have to tell them, listen, I'm really happy here, and I want to stay with my friend Josh.
That's exactly what it was.
Cool. Awesome. Well, I'm going to stop recording, guys. Awesome.
We love you.
Love you
Thanks.
too.
This was awesome.